What would you do if you witnessed a store employee disrespecting an elderly woman just because she was paying with coins? The worried eyes of her grandson and the silence of the old woman didn't seem to stir the cashier's heartlessness, until a man standing behind them decided to speak up. Who was this man? What happened next? The answer will touch you deeply. Before we dive into the story, let us know where you're watching from. Share the name of your city or country in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tomorrow, we'll bring you another heartwarming story, tailored just for you. Let's begin. Evelyn lowered her head, trying to ignore the mocking comments as she painstakingly counted the meager coins in her trembling hands. Her hands shook more than ever. Ethan gripped her hand tightly, his worried eyes fixed on her. The boy clutched a small packet of cookies in his arms, as if protecting the only precious thing they had. Ryan, the cashier, glanced at the scene and, unable to contain himself, let out a snide remark. "This isn't a charity, ma'am. If you don't have enough money, maybe you should think twice before buying something." The atmosphere suddenly grew heavy. Other customers remained silent, some sneaking glances toward the elderly woman and the boy. Evelyn bit her lip, saying nothing, focusing solely on her counting. But Ryan didn't stop. "Maybe you should come back another day when you actually have some real money," he added, his voice dripping with sarcasm, deliberately drawing attention to them. Ethan turned to look at Ryan, his innocent eyes filled with helplessness. He had no idea how to help his grandmother. Ryan continued, his tone sharp and mocking, "If you can't pay quickly, maybe you shouldn't take so many items." At that moment, a tall man dressed in a black coat and wearing sunglasses stepped forward from the line. He had been quietly observing the situation, his sharp gaze fixed on Ryan. As the cashier's sarcastic comments rang out once more, the man calmly removed his sunglasses, revealing a stern, piercing expression. "That's enough," his deep, firm voice echoed, silencing the entire store. All eyes turned to him, including Ryan's. Ryan blinked, slightly startled by the sudden intervention. "Who are you, her lawyer?" he sneered, trying to maintain his composure. The man stepped closer, his measured steps amplifying the tension. "No," he replied, his tone steady but resolute. "Just someone who won't tolerate disrespect." A murmur rippled through the crowd. A few people recognized who he was, but Ryan remained oblivious. "Look, sir." Ryan forced a nervous laugh. "I just want to keep things moving. She's holding up the line." The man tilted his head slightly, his gaze growing even sharper. "She's paying just like everyone else. What gives you the right to treat her this way?" Ryan faltered for a moment but quickly regained his defensive stance. "Sir, I'm just trying to be fair to the other customers." "Fair?" The man smirked faintly. "Is it fair to humiliate a grandmother and her grandson just because you lack patience? Perhaps you should reconsider what fairness truly means." Ryan opened his mouth to argue, but the growing whispers in the crowd stopped him. "Wait a second. Is that Keanu Reeves?" A voice rang out, loud enough to capture everyone's attention. Ryan's eyes widened, this time in shock. His expression shifted from arrogance to astonishment as he stammered, "Keanu Reeves?" Keanu stepped closer, leaning slightly toward Ryan. His voice was calm yet cutting. "That's right. And now you know who's asking you to treat others with respect." He turned to Evelyn and Ethan, his gaze softening. Noticing the small package of cookies in Ethan's hand, he smiled warmly and said, "That packet looks delicious. It absolutely needs to go home with you today." Evelyn tried to say something, but the words caught in her throat. All she could do was nod, overwhelmed with emotion. Keanu turned back to Ryan and asked, "Could you cancel this transaction for me? Surely canceling one doesn't take much time, does it?" Ryan, still flustered, stammered, It might take a little time." Keanu smiled, his tone steady. "Well, that's unfortunate because we're canceling it right now." Ryan blinked in confusion. "Cancel? But you just paid for it." Keanu shrugged. "I did, but I've got a better idea. Let's do a proper transaction. Evelyn and Ethan deserve much more than this. And you, Ryan, can use the time to reflect on how you treat others." Keanu turned to Evelyn and Ethan, his warm smile returning. "Let's grab another cart." And this time, we'll get everything you truly need. Ethan, you can pick out some toys too. Evelyn shook her head, her voice trembling. I can't accept this. Far too much. Keanu gently took her hand, his voice sincere and comforting. You've done so much for your grandson. Now it's time to let someone help you. Sometimes accepting help is the hardest and most courageous thing we can do. Ethan looked up at his grandmother, his eyes filled with hope. Please, Grandma, can we? Evelyn took a deep breath, her eyes brimming with tears. Thank you so much. Keanu grabbed a cart and led them through the store. Evelyn hesitated over every item, but Keanu encouraged her. Go ahead. Don't worry about the cost. Let's make sure you and Ethan have everything you need for a long time. For the first time in months, Ethan's face lit up with a big smile. He pointed at toys and snacks, his excitement contagious. Keanu laughed and said, If Grandma says it's okay. Then into the cart they go. When the cart was finally filled to the brim, Keanu turned to Ryan one last time. Remember this, Ryan. Kindness is the only thing that truly changes the world. Think about that while you're sorting through the canceled transaction. The surrounding customers stood silently, many visibly moved. Some bowed their heads in admiration, while others smiled, touched by Keanu's generosity. At the checkout counter, Keanu personally oversaw the process, ensuring everything went smoothly. Ethan clung tightly to a small toy car, as if afraid it might disappear. Keanu spoke softly to the new cashier, someone who had replaced Ryan after he was sent to the stockroom. Let's ring up all of this, please. The cashier, her eyes still glistening with emotion, quickly completed the transaction. Evelyn, her eyes brimming with tears, gently grasped Keanu's arm, her gaze a mix of gratitude and disbelief. This is too much, she said, her voice trembling. Keanu placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder and replied, It's never too much to help those who deserve it. Take good care of your grandson. Evelyn looked up at him, her voice breaking with emotion. I'll never be able to repay you for this. Keanu smiled warmly, his eyes filled with kindness. There's no need to repay me, Evelyn. This is about helping each other when we can. You've done so much for Ethan, now it's my turn to give something back. The store erupted into applause. Some customers shouted in admiration. Amazing! He's not just a movie star. He's a true role model. Bravo, Keanu. An elderly woman approached Evelyn and gently held her hand. My dear, you deserve this. What a beautiful gesture he's made. Take good care of the boy, and remember, you're never alone. Evelyn thanked the woman, her eyes still glistening with tears. Meanwhile, Ethan looked up at Keanu, his gaze filled with awe and admiration. Thank you, sir. You're like a real-life superhero. Keanu crouched down to meet Ethan's eyes and smiled. You know, Ethan, real heroes are the ones who care for the people they love, just like your grandma does every day. As the heartwarming scene unfolded, Ryan stood at a distance, his face a mix of shame and regret. Finally, summoning his courage, he stepped forward, stammering, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have acted that way. I was wrong. Keanu regarded him for a moment, his expression free of judgment. His voice was calm and steady. You don't need to know someone's story to treat them with respect. Kindness is a choice, Ryan, and it's a choice everyone has the power to make. Take this moment to become better. Ryan nodded, visibly moved by the words, and quietly returned to the stockroom, silently vowing to change his behavior. In the days that followed, Evelyn still found it hard to believe what had happened. She and Ethan were sorting through the supplies they had received when the phone rang. Hello? She answered, her voice tinged with a bit of worry. Evelyn, it's Keanu. The familiar voice almost made her drop the phone. Keanu? I never expected you to call. Are you doing well? I'm doing well, Keanu replied. I wanted to share something with you. I've spoken with a few people and we've decided to do more for you and Ethan. I'd like to sponsor his education. Ethan will have access to the best opportunities we can provide. Evelyn fell silent, struggling to comprehend what she'd just heard. After a few seconds, her voice cracked as she said, This is unbelievable. I don't even know how to thank you. No thanks needed, Evelyn, Keanu replied warmly. Just keep being the amazing grandmother you already are. The story of Keanu and Evelyn quickly spread online. A customer in the store had recorded the moment Keanu stepped in, and the video went viral. It inspired countless people worldwide, with comments flooding in about the power of kindness and the example set by Keanu Reeves. One user summed it up perfectly. Kindness costs nothing, but it changes everything. Be like Keanu. Thousands of comments flooded social media with messages full of inspiration. The world needs role models like this. Keanu Reeves truly is an angel on earth. This reminds me to live more kindly every day. The grocery store also underwent significant changes. The management announced a new training program for employees, focusing on empathy and respect for customers. Ryan, the center of the incident, volunteered to lead the training, determined to make amends for his mistakes. He also sought out Evelyn once more to apologize, this time with genuine sincerity. Evelyn listened intently to Ryan's heartfelt words. I don't know what you've been through, and that's no excuse, but I want you to know I'm trying to be a better person. Evelyn nodded, her warm eyes conveying acceptance as she was moved by his humility. A few weeks later, Evelyn and Ethan went to the park. Ethan happily kicked around the new soccer ball he had picked out during the shopping trip with Keanu, his joyous laughter echoing through the air. Evelyn sat on a bench, watching her grandson with a contented smile, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't known in a long time. As she watched Ethan, a black car quietly pulled up nearby. The door opened, and Keanu stepped out, dressed simply and holding a small gift. Hello, Evelyn, he greeted softly. I thought you and Ethan might enjoy this. He handed her the package. Inside were framed photographs of Evelyn and Ethan, their beaming smiles from that day at the store beautifully preserved. Alongside the photos was a note that read, Always remember that kindness wins. Evelyn embraced Keanu tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks as she choked out. You didn't just change our lives, Keanu. You gave us hope. Keanu smiled, his gaze filled with sincerity. You've inspired me just as much as I hope I've inspired you. Keep being amazing, Evelyn. This story serves as a powerful reminder of the strength of kindness, empathy, and how small acts can transform someone's life. If you were Keanu Reeves, how would you have handled this situation? Or, have you ever witnessed or performed an act of kindness that made someone's life better? Share your story or thoughts in the comments. Your experiences can inspire others and spark positive change. If this story touched your heart, don't hesitate to share it with your friends and loved ones. Together, we can spread the message of respect and compassion everywhere. Thank you for following along. Stay tuned for more inspirational and meaningful stories. Note, these stories are collected from various sources and do not represent any specific individual or organization. They are shared to promote human values and have been rewritten with the help of AI. If there are any errors, please kindly overlook them with understanding. Wishing you all the best in life.